On this sheet, I have all the different ways I can transfer money from US to Canadian dollars. Again, US is the way I get paid. Canadians is I live in Canada. This is the money I need in order to survive in Canada. So right now, this is August 27th, 2015. The exchange rate from US dollars to Canadian dollars is this one, right? So if I were to sell $1, the official exchange rate is 1.3248. That would be the ideal rate if banks wouldn't take any fee when they exchange money, right? Unfortunately, this is not how it works. Every time you want to exchange money, you will never get the official rate. You will get a lower rate. And think about this. When I have money on PayPal and I get paid on PayPal, I can transfer either using PayPal from my PayPal US account to my Canadian business account, right? This would be the simplest way to transfer money from PayPal to my Canadian account. If I do that, the exchange rate that PayPal gives me it's horrible. It's 2.888 compared to this, to the official one. It's really a robbery. So what I have here in this column is if I were to transfer $100,000 US a year using this system, the easiest one, I would lose $3,600 a year in exchange. This money is gone. This money is gone directly to PayPal, who decided to give me a horrible exchange rate. So what's my other option? My other option is I transfer the money from my PayPal US account into my business account in US dollars, and that transfer doesn't lose any money. But then I still have to transfer those US dollars to my Canadian business account, and I can do it in two different ways. I can do it the easy way, and usually the easy way is the expensive way. I can just say transfer money from my US business account to my Canadian business account. And it's like a two-click process. Well, I get a pretty crappy exchange rate as well. And I noticed this, so I asked my bank advisor, and he said, Miguel, if you have a lot of volume, and this happens, if you don't ask, you won't get a better rate. If you want a better rate, we can sign you up to what is called, in my case, I use the Toronto Dominion Bank. It's called the Toronto Dominion Foreign Exchange Service, which is not given to everybody, but if you have certain volume of transactions, it's suddenly they create a special account for you where you can find a lot better rates. And guess what? I did it. So right now, this is what I use all the time, right? This tells us that transferring money in different currencies from PayPal to your bank account, it's not a good idea. And if you can get a service provided by your bank, like the Toronto Dominion Foreign Exchange Service, that's going to save you. In my case, if my transfer amount a year is $100,000 US, which is actually more, or closer to $500,000. But if it was $100,000 a year, which is a reasonable amount for a lifestyle business, that you may have this kind of volume, you would save just over $1,000 a year just because you chose a system that is free to use and it's just slightly more complex to use. But I mean, what I only transfer money not every day. I transfer money maybe every month or every 2 months, and you can also follow the exchange rates just to see when the exchange rate is most favorable, and only change money when it is favorable. Now imagine you were exchanging $1 million a year from US to Canadian dollars. Using a smarter system could save you up to like 10 grand a year. So this adds up over time. That's why it's important to pay attention to it. Now to recap, the system that I use right now, so if you're Canadian, this is going to make sense to you. So I go from my PayPal account and I transfer US dollars, my US dollars, which is the way I get paid the most. I transfer that directly to my business account in US dollars, and there's no fee for doing so because there's no exchange. Nothing has been exchanged. It's US to US. And also, if you transfer more than $100, it's free to transfer money from PayPal to your bank account. And then what I do, I use the Toronto Dominion foreign exchange service, which gives me a really good rate, and that transfers the US dollars into Canadian dollars and gives me a really good rate. So every year, by doing so, I'm saving about $5,000. Here on these two other columns, I have two different services, xe.com and canadianforex.com, which give also pretty good rates. But this is, I would use this if I was transferring money from any of my bank accounts to a different bank account on a different bank, or if I was playing a supplier on a different country, because this could be Canadian or euros or whatever. So I've actually used this to pay suppliers from Canada to Spain in euros, and you can do that either by sending a check, which takes too long and probably not the best way. The other way, the most traditional way you would do that, is through a wire transfer. Wire transfer, if they'll give you a really bad exchange, because it would be the same thing that if you were transferring money from internally from one currency to another currency, and they'll give you a really crappy exchange. So, and I actually went to the bank and I was like, could you give me a better exchange for wiring money to Europe? And they're like, no. Okay. So I looked online, transfer money, save money transferring, sending wires to other countries, and I found two places, xe.com and Canadian Forex, and they give me really good rates, almost identical to the Toronto Dominion foreign exchange rate. But if you were to use, if this was instead of was Canadian to euro or US to euro, something like that, you still would get a very competitive rate. So the way it works is you have to sign up for the service, and it's not a super simple process. You have to send documentation proving that you're you, etc. Because really what you want to do, the way it works is that you're going to transfer money not directly through wire to the receiver bank's account. It's actually going to go first to their bank account, and then they're going to wire it to the receiver, to let's say your supplier. So it's like there's an intermediate step there. There's an intermediate bank, and then they hold it there for maybe 1 or 2 days, or sometimes 3 days, and then they send it. So it takes longer than a typical wire transfer. But if you set it up so you have direct debit from your checking account to their bank account, then there's no fees transferring money from your account to their account, and they usually don't charge you to deposit money from their account to the destinatory account, to the target account, or if they charge you, it's very, very little. So it really makes sense if it's for small amounts. Really, you should use the typical wire transfer system, because you're not going to save a considerable amount of money. But if you're sending over, let's say, $5,000 paying a supplier somewhere else, then it makes sense to you to use one of these intermediary foreign exchange services, because on the long run they'll also save you money, and they provide better rates than most likely your bank is going to provide you when you send a wire where there's going to be an exchange between currencies. So there you go. Hopefully with this, obviously you have to start making money first, but let's assume that you're going to start making a lot of money with your lifestyle business or whatever business you have, and eventually this is going to be a problem that you run into. And I hope that this sheds some light into what could you do in order to save money when you exchange currency. Hey, did you enjoy this video? If you want to see more like this, just subscribe here. If you want a free gift, click here. Yeah. Which one is going to be the one you click?